Let's look at some columns in Revit 2015. So if you go in the Architecture tab, you have the column command here, which is CL. And if you pull down, you'll see you have two different types of columns, a structural column and an architectural column. The architectural columns, you can see here by the description, are a bit more simple column. They don't have the structural information in them that you can use for analysis and things. So we're going to go ahead and use the structural column command in this case. And I have loaded in here the Villa Savoie 250 millimeter, which is like 9 3/4 inch round column. So we're going to use that. Now we have the option here to choose where this column goes. So I'm going to go ahead and say level 2. Okay. And there's our column, and it's just centered on the cursor. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here to the intersection of my column lines and just click to input, so on and so forth. Now, you can align these columns and lock them to your grid lines by using the AL hotkey or going up to Modify and selecting the Align tool up here. And selecting your column grid and then the midline of your column, and when the little lock pops up, you can hit lock and it will lock it to that column grid line. And then if your column grids move, your columns will move with it, which is fantastic. Now I'm going to go ahead and continue to make these columns, but instead of going back to the column command and trying to find, scroll down through my list, let's say I had a lot of items on my list here for different columns, I can use this button up here under my Modify, which is Create Similar, and the hotkey is CS. So I'm going to type that in, and it's going to put that item back on my mouse cursor. So that's super duper easy. Lots and lots of columns. Now, the nice thing about having a CAD underlay is that I can find exactly where these are supposed to go. The other thing I can do is I can choose to put these at grid lines. So if I click at grid lines, what I can do is click on 2 grids and it will create a column there. Now I can use a crossing window and select multiple grids and it'll put them at all of them. So a super fast way to enter columns into your building. And there are a couple more I missed. And if you hit the Shift key, you can kind of get them all. And then once I've selected my column grids, I can hit Finish, and it will create those columns for me. Then I'm going to have to go back in and create columns in these smaller areas. I don't actually think there was one here. Yeah, there wasn't. So I can go ahead and continue to input all these columns. And if I look at one of these, you'll see there's lots of different information here. There's lots of structural information here. Generally speaking, I found during my work experience that we use the architectural column and let the structural engineers use the structural columns and make the structural model. But for us, we're going to go ahead and use the architectural. You'll see you have pretty much just the measurement option here. So I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to go ahead and fill out the rest of my columns in this project on both the first and second floor, and we'll move on to something else.